This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 51, Facebook Shenanigans, and wrapping up 2013. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you attract and retain business through the power of quality content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is December 26th, 2013. Hello, and thank you for joining us today for episode number 51 of the Content Marketing Podcast. It is, of course, December 26th, so the day after Christmas and the first day of Kwanzaa. So whatever you are celebrating or getting ready to celebrate or recovering from celebrating, I hope you are had or are having a wonderful time with friends and family during this very special time of year. Just a reminder, we are live on iTunes and on Stitcher, so if you happen to be listening to this episode on the blog, you can click on over and subscribe. That means you'll get new episodes automatically delivered to your computer or your smartphone or your tablet or your listening device of choice. And if you use a different app for your podcast listening pleasure, we also have an RSS feed, and I will provide that link in the blog post. In last week's podcast, we talked about 5 last-minute content gifts to surprise your followers with. And, of course, it is still the holiday season, so not too late to get that gift out. And if you happen to miss that episode, you can click on over to iTunes or to Stitcher or to the RSS feed and get all caught up. So that brings me to today's topic. Today is a twofer podcast, so 2 podcast topics for the price of 1. First, we're going to talk about some recent Facebook shenanigans, and they are shenanigans that you need to know about. And then we'll show you how you can use this last week of the year, which for a lot of businesses tends to be on the slow side. We're going to show you how you can use this last week to really assess and evaluate 2013 and make sure you are ready to hit the ground running come January. My intention this week was to do a podcast on how to use this last week of the year to really get ramped up for 2014. And we are absolutely going to do that, and we will get to that in a minute. But then some Facebook news came across my desk that I really feel we all need to be aware of, as it can have some serious implications for us content marketers. So we usually don't spend a whole lot of time on social media. There are certainly podcasts that focus on that, but this recent development on Facebook has some really serious repercussions for content marketers. So I just really wanted to talk about it. So in recent weeks, some brands have noticed a decline in the reach of their organic Facebook posts. So those are the posts, just regular posts. They are not promoted. They're not boosted, whatever Facebook is calling it this week. They're not paid for in any way. They're just regular posts. And when this started happening, some rumors started circulating about a change in Facebook's algorithm. In fact, just last week, I saw a post from Jeffrey Hazlett, who is of course, a marketing guru who has a huge following. And he noted that his posts, his regular posts again, are being seen by less than 7% of his followers. So what the heck is going on over at Facebook? Well, earlier this month, Ad Age, the publication Ad Age, published an article, and the ominous title was as follows: Facebook admits organic reach is falling short, urges marketers to buy ads. Uh-oh. So it turns out that Ad Age obtained a sales deck that had gone out to Facebook partners, and the deck contained this statement. Again, this is Facebook talking, we expect organic distribution of an individual page's posts to gradually decline over time as we continually work to make sure people have a meaningful experience on the site. The deck goes on to state that marketers should consider paid distribution, quote, to maximize delivery of your message in newsfeed, close quotes. Okay. Now, first of all, can we all agree, and please pardon my French here, can we all agree to call bullshit on the whole meaningful experience thing? Facebook would not know meaningful experience if one walked up and bit him on the nose. This is all about money. and what I see here is Facebook taking one more step towards becoming, I think it's going to eventually be a pay-to-play model. So eventually, if you want to have a page on Facebook and you want your post to appear in your followers' news feeds, you're going to have to pony up some dollars, or pounds or euros or rubles or whatever your currency happens to be. In other words, the free, unpromoted Facebook post that your followers actually see is becoming an endangered species. Now, this is not entirely new. This all started, it started back when Facebook went public back in February 2012. And of course, when a company goes from being private to being public, it has shareholders to answer to. And those shareholders demand not only to see a profit, but an increased rate of growth from quarter to quarter. So Facebook needs to make money to make those shareholders happy. And so they have two groups to look at. Now, if they started charging users to use Facebook, I think it would be disastrous. There would be a mass exodus. So really their only option was to go to the businesses with a presence on the network who rely on Facebook to drive traffic and to drive sales. So, like it or not, eventually businesses will have to pay in some form to have a presence on Facebook and to have their followers see their posts. And so that's where I see Facebook going. And I think this trend will result in two major developments. Number one, I think many small businesses will just get squeezed out of Facebook altogether. Look at it this way. The minimum charge to promote a post is $5. So even if you only post once a day and only on weekdays, to have those posts actually seen, we would be talking about $100 a month and eventually $1,200 a year. And for a lot of small businesses, that's the equivalent of a month's rent. So, they're really going to have to look at whether that expenditure is an investment that is worthwhile if it's going to drive their business. And it might be. They might get enough business out of Facebook that it's worth that investment, but they're really going to be looking at it from an ROI perspective. And I predict that a lot of small businesses will just say thanks but no thanks, Facebook, and probably keep their pages, but just not engage in the whole paid post thing. The second development, which I think is much more serious from a content marketing perspective, is that we're going to see a decline in non-promotional content that is published by brands on Facebook. So let me show you an example. Let's say I am a marketing director for brand X, and I find an article on Forbes, with which I have absolutely no connection, but I find this article on Forbes that is really relevant to my followers' interests, and I think they would find really interesting and that would really help them out. Now, the question I need to address is, am I willing to shell out actual budgetary dollars to send followers to Forbes.com, with which I have no relationship and which does not benefit me whatsoever? Am I willing to fork over that hard-earned money to send people to a site that I have nothing to do with? And I'm thinking for many marketers, that answer will be no. They will look at this and say, well, if I'm going to allocate budgetary funds to these posts, it had darn well better. See what happens when I don't cuss? I get all tongue-tied. It better benefit me directly, and it better be a post that goes to my website, to my landing page, to my sign-up form, etc., etc. Now again, not all marketers are likely to look at it this way, but for some, especially for those whose pockets are not bottomless, it's going to become a serious issue. So what does that mean for our mission as content marketers? And I can really see this kind of snowballing to a point where the only posts we're going to see from brands on Facebook are promotions. We're going to see buy my stuff, we're going to see download my ebook, join my mailing list, 50% off sale through Monday, etc., etc. Well, once upon a time, there was another social network that allowed something similar to happen, and its name was Myspace. Now, if you remember MySpace, now not the revamped Justin Timberlake backed MySpace that we see today. I'm talking about the predecessor to Facebook that got so overtaken by ads and promotional copy that it drove users away. I remember I hopped onto MySpace probably in the waning days of its popularity, and I remember looking at my computer monitor and there was this little rectangle in the middle of the screen that constituted my news feed, and all the rest of the screen was taken up by advertisements. It was ridiculous. It was like something out of the movie Idiocracy. And that's very well what could happen to Facebook, is that brands will get sick and tired for being asked to shell out money for every action they take, and users on the other side will get fed up of being advertised to every second that they're on the site. So it could be, these could be dangerous times for Facebook. So we'll have to see what happens. So what do we do about this? What do we do about this development? I'm recommending to all my clients, and I'm recommending to you, that you do two things. Number one, for the short term, to counteract this most recent algorithm change, I recommend that you publish a post. And I have done this on Resonance, or I will have done this on the Resonance page by the time this podcast drops. Publish a post asking your followers to add your page to their interest lists. Now, interest lists came out, I want to say sometime within the last year and a half. And basically, it's they made a big splash when they came out, and then everybody forgot about them. But basically, what your followers can do is they can add your page to a list. So they can create a separate list for, let's say, business gurus that I follow, or marketing pages that are interesting, or shopping, or whatever. And if they add you to this list, your post will be much more likely to show up in their news feeds. So if you want to see what that post would look like, asking people to add you to their interest list, go to facebook.com/resonance content, and you will see my post talking about this, which will give you, I'll also put a link in there to give you some more information about interest lists and how they work. So that's one thing that you can do pretty quickly here for the short term. For the long term, this is a really good time. It's the end of the year. We're looking at our strategies for 2014, and it's a good time to think about how you might go about diversifying if the situation came to that point. So just to say, if we were to think about doing less on Facebook and kind of reallocating our time and effort, what would be some viable alternatives? So you might be looking at doing more on Google+, you might look at LinkedIn, you might look at Pinterest, or you might look at a niche site. So, for example, if your business has to do with home decor, you might look at houzz.com, HOUZZ.com. Or if you are in the food industry, you might look at foodie.com, which is a niche site for foodies, for people who love their food. So just to kind of start that internal conversation of, okay, if Facebook goes down this route, number one, are we willing to pay to play? And you might be. If you get enough business from Facebook, it might be absolutely worth those budgetary dollars to pay for those posts. But if not, you might want to start thinking about how you would diversify if it came to that point. So I don't think any immediate action is needed, but if things continue down this road over at Facebook, it's really good to have a plan B in place that you can execute pretty quickly. So that's the deal, folks. That's what's going on over at Facebook. And let me be clear, I am not saying the sky is falling. I am not sounding any alarms. I'm not calling for a mass exodus from Facebook. But I do want to let you know what's going on over there, and so that you can make the best decisions for your team and for your brand. Okay, on to a brighter subject, or a less contentious subject. We are in the last week of 2013, and yes, it is as hard for me to believe as anyone. And for many businesses, this is a slow time. A lot of people are on vacation. A lot of things are just being put off to the new year rather than get something new started. I know, for example, if you're in IT, this is usually a freeze time when nothing gets changed or updated. There are various reasons why this week is a slow one for many businesses. Not for all businesses, but for many. So this is a great time to do a really thorough assessment of 2013 of your content marketing activities in 2013, and really assess those and make sure that everything is in place for your 2014 content marketing strategy to be effective. Now, I know you've been doing monthly reviews of all your analytics. I know you're looking at that on a month-to-month basis, but this is a really good time to take a big overview. So to go to Google Analytics and to ask it to show you everything from January 1st to December 26th, or whatever date you happen to be listening to this, and really look at those long-term trends. The first thing you want to look at is your website traffic. So look at the traffic from your website over the last 12 months and see if you notice any trends, and start thinking about how your 2014 strategy can address those trends. For example, you might notice a big dip in traffic over the summer months. So when you're looking at 2014, you might say, okay, how can we drum up some more traffic over the summer? And that might be with a video series, it might be with a crowdsourcing campaign on your blog, it might be launching an ebook or a new course, or something to really get those numbers up to cover that decline in traffic. So the first thing you want to look at is your website traffic. The second thing I recommend you look at is your blog. So not just your website as a whole, but specifically your blog. And what I would do is pull up your list of posts from 2013 and see if you can sort by views or sort by comments or whatever measurable you use to determine what is a successful post. And look at the post at the top of the list and the posts at the bottom of the lists. So for those top of the list posts, for the most successful blog post from the past year, look at that list and see if you can notice any common features. It could be the way you approached your titles. It could be the topic you were covering. It could even be the length of the post or how you positioned those keywords in the post. It could be the visual you used in the post. Really look at those maybe the top 5, top 10 posts of the year, and look and see what common features they have, and then look at whether you can replicate those features going forward. Conversely, you also want to look at the bottom of the list. Look at the least successful posts and see if there are any common traits there. And those would be things to avoid going forward. And in addition, when you're looking at that bottom of the list, one trick that I just learned from Christopher Penn is to look at those less successful posts and say, okay, how can I recycle? How can I take this less successful post and revamp it to create a brand new post with some of those best practices? Because those posts were not seen by a lot of people, and they might have been, the basic content might have been really, really good. So look at some opportunities to repurpose those posts by using some of those best practices that you're seeing at the top of your lists. Number 3, look at your social media. We just spent a lot of time talking about Facebook, but look at all of your social activities, and not only within each individual network, not only the likes, the comments, the shares that you're getting, but also look at which ones are driving traffic to your website, which ones are driving phone calls or newsletter signups or ebook downloads or whatever your measurable is. If they're driving leads, if they're driving business, look at which social media sites are helping you are really helping you in your business, and you might want to look at reallocating your time and effort and possibly money towards those sites that are driving more business and more traffic. The fourth thing I would look at is your e-newsletter. So just like you did with your blog, I recommend you look at which e-newsletters got the most engagement, got the most opens, got the most click-throughs, and also which ones came out at the bottom of the list. And see if you can identify the repeatable best practices at the top of the list, and maybe you might find what not to do towards the bottom of the list. And it could be simple as your subject line. If you start with the verb rather than a noun, you might notice very different results. And those little nuances can make a huge difference in your results going forward. So look at those results from your e-newsletter from all of 2013. Number 5 you might want to look at is your long-form content. So look at the results from your ebooks, your white papers, your video courses, your webinars. Look at your downloads. Look at how many signups each one received. And again, Look at the best practices that you can replicate in your content activities for 2014, and look at those less successful practices that you might want to reevaluate. Number 6 on the list of things to look at in 2013 is what's not there. What's missing? Is there something that you have just been dying to look into for your content marketing strategy and that you're not doing that that could really amp up your engagement, could really amp up your influence? This is a great time, if it's a slow time for your business, to do some research and to decide if that new venue is worth pursuing. And I can speak from personal experience on this because this time last year, again, this is a slow time for my business, so I decided to research podcasting. I was hearing a lot of voices talk about how podcasting was enjoying kind of a renaissance, and I had always wanted to look into it. So I researched it and I learned how doable a podcast could be. And I downloaded some resources and really learned the basics. And in January 2013, lo and behold, I was able to launch the Content Marketing Podcast. And it has just done wonders for my content marketing. So if there's something you're really interested in that you really want to start doing, it might be video. You might have not done anything of the video because you're not sure about the technical equipment and expertise that's needed. This is a really good time to research that. And if you feel it's really something that could benefit your content marketing, it's a good time to get those pieces in place. So once you've done all this, once you've looked at these various aspects of your content marketing program, go back and look at your 2014 content marketing strategy and fill in the blanks. So see about adding some of those best practices that you might have noticed from your blog or your e-newsletter or your other vehicles, and make sure those are included in your strategy. And you might want to include a list of do's and don'ts for every aspect. You might want to say, okay, here's what tended to land a blog post at the bottom of the list, so this is something not to do. So if you include those practices, then you'll be much better prepared to be successful in 2014 in all of your content marketing activities. So to sum up, if it is a slow week at your office, you now have something to occupy your time. You've got some homework to do that will really benefit you. It's going to let you and your team enter the new year with a real sense of confidence that it's going to be one of the best years ever. As always, if you have any questions about anything we've covered here, please feel free to shoot me an email or hit me up on social media, and I will provide that contact information at the end of the podcast. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. For today's tip, I want to talk about conducting a 2013 wrap-up meeting with your team. So we just talked about the importance of doing an end-of-year evaluation and looking at everything you've done in 2013. And what I encourage you to do is make that a team activity. So something you might want to do, keep it very casual, very open. You might want to order in lunch one day and just get your team together. If you have a big whiteboard, you might mark out the different months of the year and maybe some milestones or some key initiatives, and just get everyone together and get everyone's perspective on what all went down in 2013 and some of the hits and misses, and then what you as an organization can learn from that going forward. And again, make it very casual, make it very open. Invite everyone to participate, everyone who has a stake in your content marketing strategy, and just have it very, very kind of free-flowing and free format. So if you want to go through the year month by month, that's a great idea. But if the conversation wants to take on a life of its own, that can be very valuable too. Just remember to make sure everyone feels free to participate, feel free to voice their opinions, and remember the goal of the exercise. It's to get everyone's perspective on the past 12 months so that you can adjust your strategy and feel as confident as possible going into 2014. Okay, campers, that is it for me this week, and that is it for me this year. This is the last podcast of 2013. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you like what you've heard today on the Content Marketing Podcast, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. I would so appreciate it. For more information about content marketing, you're welcome to visit our blog at resonancecontent.com. rachelpacker.com/blog, where you'll also find links to our pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and other social networks. If you'd like to email me a question to cover in an upcoming tip of the week, you feel free to contact me anytime at rachel@resonancecontent.com. And if you'd like for me to come speak about content marketing to your business or your organization, you can find out about my latest talk at contentmarketingspeaker.net. As always, I like to leave you with a quote, and today I actually have a poem for you. This one is by William Arthur Ward, and it goes like this. Another fresh new year is here, another year to live, to banish worry, doubt, and fear, to love and laugh and give. This bright new year is given me to live each day with zest, to daily grow and try to be my highest and my best. I have the opportunity once more to right some wrongs, to pray for peace, to plant a tree, and sing more joyful songs. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. I wish you a wonderful New Year's celebration with friends and family. If you will be on the road or in the air over the next week, I wish you safe and pleasant travels. And also, if you're going to be out and about on New Year's Eve, have a wonderful time, and please do be safe. We want to see everyone back here in 2014 safe and sound. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you again next week, which is also next year. Take care.